We might not like what the others watch, but we'll defend our rights to watch it. Here we are, episode 18 of Taku Katsu, with my co-host Patrick.
How's it going, guys?
And Cori.
Pretty boys. They're here.
This week, we are watching Pretty Boy Detective Club, and usually we would describe the show, but it's pretty self-descriptive. It's pretty boys who are detectives. Let's just jump into it. Cori, you seem like you have a lot to say already.
Yeah, let's go. Let's do it. Orin High School Host Club.
Do it.
Except detectives. That's what this is. I am happy to say, without any more clever titles, this is Orin High School. But, detectives and not hosts, so they don't have to drink liquor and get liver disease in real-life Japan. Because that's how hosts are in real-life Japan.
Yep.
And not high school rich children who more or less adopt a girl who dresses in drag. Anyway, so, Pretty Boy Detective Club. It's, let's see, so... It's got the colorful art design, which is nice. It very much feels like Orin High School Host Club, which I like quite a lot. I don't know if the purple hair main female is going to be in every single episode. It kind of led it into me feeling like she's like the main female character. I really liked that she was kind of like in their face, but not in a way that I felt like she was annoying in any way. Like she was challenging them.
Yeah,
like
she had some fire.
Yeah. Like she wasn't like defenseless. But yeah, she was blunt. She just was like to the point. Like, this is what we're trying to do. This is what I'm trying to do. The way they kind of solved her, or solved her case was, I guess it was all right. It wasn't a detective show, really.
Her case being to find a lost star.
Right. Yeah, it was all right, but it definitely was it wasn't bad. It wasn't bad. I could see myself watching this more in the future.
Cool, Patrick. What did you think?
Yeah, I think what I like the show. The show is really pretty, and I'm not just talking about the boys. Like, it really is pretty. Like, they do a lot of like stylistic cutaways, and like the backgrounds are all like stars and all these things. It looks really nice. It actually is a really pretty show. And it's aesthetically pleasing to the eyes in many different ways. So that's how I enjoyed it. Not particularly the boys, but I also like the main character, Mayumi. Like Cori said, she had a lot of different like facets. She wasn't like a one-tone character. Like she actually showed emotions, and she was like kind of like I said, a little sparky with the everyone character of the boys. And I liked her a lot. But you're right about mentioning that maybe she isn't the main character. That if they are a detective board club, then they might have other clients. Or is she just the main character, and they're gonna do this whole plot for finding her star or whatever. But I think this was part 1 out of part 2, like I think for this episode. So we don't get the resolution of what happens, or did she find her star, or the deck that they're waiting for.
Yeah.
So yeah, it kind of reminded me of, I'm not sure if this is the right anime, but like Zetsubo Sensei or something like that, where it's just like a bunch of cutaways. Like there's lots of, it's very slice of lifey, and but trying to go with a main story, but it's like cutaway for each of the the characters and whatnot. But it's really nice to look at, and I have to mention what I do like about the show is that the guy's legs, right? Come on now.
The kid, yeah. He's like
the yellow-haired boy, young yellow-haired boy. The same trope that is same thing in every show. It was in Cute High Elf Defense Club Love. The same character, pop him out. Same in Orin High School, pop him out. Young boy, long legs, and he is the life. He's the best character, obviously. And yellow-haired boys will always be the best characters.
Yeah, I was
in these host clubs.
I was even gonna ask who of these boy detectives you guys' favorites are. I guess Legs is yours, Patrick.
Legs.
Cori, who did you favor?
Cori don't want to answer.
I don't have that strong of an opinion for any of these dudes. Like, if you gun to my head, I'll pick the quiet dude who comes from a rich family who got some shit done. But that's about it.
Sandcastle.
Like, yeah, make a sandcastle.
Mm-hmm.
I didn't like it. I'm like, no.
Yeah.
I have more to say about what I didn't like, and it'll kind of touch on that. But go ahead.
Oh,
yeah.
Well, I'll just jump into what I liked. Of course, there's the comparison to Ouran High School Host Club.
Ouran High School Host Club.
Super obvious. Yeah. But, yep, I got very much big Revolutionary Girl Utena vibes, where it was like, just how stylized some things were.
Yeah,
and that
that's true.
Mm-hmm. It was just beauty. And especially the beginning where she's talking, it felt almost like the shadow plays that pop into Utena. And of course, I'm going to watch the heck out of this. I'll just jump to it. But I wonder if she joins the club, and that's why her hair was short in the very beginning. Because I'm like,
well, they have
she's
rules.
Gotta join.
They have rules.
Yes, the 3 rules.
Mm-hmm.
Rule number 1, you have to be pretty.
Be pretty, and she's very pretty.
Rule number 2, you gotta be a detective.
Well, that's rule number 3.
Well, rule number 2 is she's not a boy.
Oh, exactly. No, rule 2 is being a boy.
But they said being a boy was being childish, and that's why he's gonna wear shorts all the time. He's not gonna lose his childishness. So I'm like, maybe they're saying shonen as in like the shonen spirit of like adventure and being a kid, never growing up.
Well,
that kind of thing.
Can I be that if I'm pretty on the inside?
Yes.
Can I do that if
they're pretty
my detective skills are actually just like I'm really good at like searching my phone for stuff? Like, I mean, if we're gonna have flexible rules, why have rules at all?
Your Google foo is
strong,
top notch.
So you're telling me you want to join Cori?
I mean, if I can be all of those things, why not?
Hey, he did find pretty in her eyes, and all of the boys weren't like pretty. They were Bishounen, but they weren't like that one anime where it was just ridiculously pretty boys.
Yep.
Scale or Star in the Praetor?
Yep. Just, they all look the same because they're all just very, very pretty.
Yep.
But what don't you like, Cori?
So I felt like this show was a worse version of half of the 2 shows that I immediately thought of when I watched it. Or 3 if you want to count Black Butler. Mm. It's not really like Moriarty the Patriot or a Sherlock Holmes detective show. It's not Ouran High School. It's not a comedy, really. It's more of a drama. So I felt like I got nothing that I was looking for, and I don't know what this show is about. Like, it says what it is, but unlike, a show that's a light novel title for no good reason other than because, hey, this is what the show is. I don't know what the show is. Just Pretty Boy Detective Club. Cool. Be detectives. All right, we're going to do a midnight beach barbecue to find your star that you saw that one time. That's not how astrology works, but okay.
No, go on if you have more, Cori.
I kind of felt like 1 or 2 of those guys were kind of insufferable. So.
Yeah, go on.
What?
Keep talking about that. Keep talking.
He's
about
like the leader, right? The little one. I think it was green.
The blue-haired.
Yeah. He was just kind of a little brat. I was like, no, I don't like you. Like everybody else,
like a less charming Tamaki.
Hell yeah, way less. Like, like the brother. Okay, I'm not gonna remember his name. The brother from Fruits Basket of the rat. So he's a snake. The silver-haired brother in Fruits Basket. Like that. Just annoying. Just no. You shut up, please.
Yeah, his focus is very much on like beauty and let's get it done, and it's kind of like you got a lot of energy, huh?
Yeah. I if you don't mind me jumping in, I feel like I feel like the guy characters are not that interesting.
They're not.
They really don't. I feel like they're pretty bland and they're very one-toned, and I get that. But then, like a lot of shows are, basically for this, I guess for this type of, here are all the boys and here are the flavors of different boys. I mean, I shouldn't say that, but
flavors.
But you know what I
Pick
mean.
your boy flavors here at Baskin Robbins.
Here are different tropes of these boys. Now, obviously, I'm always gonna root for my yellow-haired boy with the leg. I'm always gonna vote for leg boy because he clearly popped out and he had fun, loving personality, which is just naturally attractive to me. I guess it's just fun to watch him be on screen. But the other characters were like, it just seemed like they weren't that interesting. I was more interested in my Yumi, the girl, because she actually showed different faces of her. She was like trying to be pretending, then she was like stoic, and then she was like, like she had a lot of expression on her face, which is like great for the show. But the other characters are like one notes, and they really hit that point where like there isn't that other dimension. Like again, as a first episode, it's kind of hard to do that for character development, but because they try to sneak it in with the cook, the redhead guy, you're talking about food and all that stuff.
And I would say that
beauty
while it's true that it's hard to do, we've seen it done. I mean, and sometimes you just have to have less characters. You don't have to throw them all in at once. Marvel movies succeed because they didn't have to put every Marvel character in the first movie that came out. DC. So, in Orin High School Host Club, right? I haven't watched the first episode in like years, but I don't think they introduced every character who's in the host club in the first episode in any deep way. But you do get to see them, and then you get some specifics about Tamaki and main character's girl name whose name just Haruhi. And then you get a little bit of more. You get a little bit of Honey. You get a little bit of the twins. You get a little bit of Serious Dude. And then you get more of them over time, which is fine. But you really got a good idea of Tamaki and Haruhi and maybe like some other background information. And you got personality, while these characters were mostly just like introduced Suicide Squad style.
Yeah,
I'm gonna start knocking on DC. Apparently, that's what's happening today.
I'm sure.
Sorry, go ahead, Patrick.
You're totally right. Again, like I said, it is tough to do, but it can be doable. It's just that the characters, I feel like they were not that introduced in the right way, or they just don't seem interested. I wasn't interested in them, maybe because the focus was so much on Mayumi being, again, like Haruhi and Core in high school. Like, she is the main character, and like the other characters, the boys, are just the side part of it. Like, they are the side chicks, and I'm more about like, what is Mayumi's deal? I hope Mayumi is in the show more because I like her character and like.
And that might be a weakness because we already don't know if she's going to be in the show, and we don't think that the main male dudes are interesting. Like, that's actually a big negative for a first episode.
I don't like them.
It's like, who's the main character?
It really would work better as like a super long double-sode. Because then you know if she's in
right.
it.
No, I was going to say, if this was a movie, if this was like an hour 30-minute movie, I'd be like, yes, this would be perfect. Like, let's just wrap up the story about the star and like, bam, get the resolution. But I was like, cutting it in as a series, like, it's just kind of, like, it left me with like, but go on.
Yeah, it was very fast, and with all the jump cuts and things, you couldn't really get an in-depth feel of all the boys. Like, I want to know more about the student president boy. Like, I wish I could collect them all like trading cards.
Exactly.
boys.
The gotcha boys.
A gotcha pun.
I like
boys.
that. That is a fantastic pun. I need that to be a thing. Come on, get your gotcha boys.
I'm writing it down.
Gotcha boys. But I super like the main character. She felt very developed, but just with so many more characters to be introduced, they felt a little flat. But not enough to not keep me from watching it, because I want to see her fire. Like, that's what I always like. Haruhi kind of got stepped on a lot, but she had a little bit of kickback sometimes, but not enough to match Tamaki's energy. This girl, she feels like she is ready to like go toe to toe with like anyone and have her own personality. She's fun, like a fun main character.
Mm-hmm.
I do think that the strong female character has definitely come into be almost its own stereotype now in anime. Like, I still feel like, and I've had this feeling for a few years now that like we've shifted from less male main characters to female main characters, so they could just make them pretty girls that people can buy merch for.
Oh yeah,
like
that's right. That's
like
right.
If they could make Naruto, if they could start over and make Naruto, they would just make her a girl. Like that may not be true, but I start to feel that way now.
No
like,
jutsu.
That's what they're doing, and I'm not saying that's bad because there's plenty of male characters out there. But it is something I feel like a lot of shows are just like, how many girls can we put in this show? How many anime girls can we put in this show? We need one dude for one reason or another, unless it's a show that's only about like female romance. But generally, it's like, how many girls can we put in the show? And even like non-harem shows,
you're not wrong.
Like what's a show we watched recently? Like Jujutsu Kaisen, first episode, right? I feel like that doesn't have like a huge amount of ladies, but between like Jujutsu Kaisen and My Hero, I think if you would have made these shows 20, 30 years ago, it would have been like all dudes. And then like the nurse would have been like the hot nurse. Like it would have been that stark. Or it would have been like Cyborg 009, like the older ones, not the newer ones that are literally what I just said, where all of the cyborgs are sexy assassin robot ladies. Also, don't watch Cyborg 009 if it was made after 2000. I haven't watched any of them and thought they were good. Anyway, I will probably watch one more episode, but that's probably it.
Just to finish off that half part feeling.
Yep. I want to know the Mayumi's Mayumi's arc if she doesn't come back. I want to,
or at least figure out if she's the main character.
She has to come back. She has to.
Yeah. It would be a shame if they lose her.
Yeah, the way that she was introduced didn't feel like this is a one-off character, though. It felt grounded, as in this is her story of how like she entered her, what was it, second year of school?
Mm-hmm. Like growing up.
Yeah, like, turning 14.
Yeah.
Which, these are like Legs is 12, and so is the silent type. They're both 12. She's turning 14, and then like the red-haired and the president are like, what, 15? How?
What are you talking about? What's wrong with those numbers and those characters?
Are you trying to say that the body proportions of Legs, as you call him, is a little bit disturbing for a 12-year-old boy in that show? Or are you...
Like, just to have the 12-year-old be the one that's like with the gams for days, it just feels wrong to be like, those are good legs.
You know what?
He got them clamp legs. They were talking to Clamp and was just like,
That's
my
right.
name is Shaoran. Anyway.
You know what? You brought up a good point. I just realized, like, watching this show, I was like, is this how girls view guys? Because when in particular with Legs, right? Because they go into detail about with each of the characters, and then she's kind of detailing them. I'm like, is this how the girl's perspective on the guy's perspective when the guys are like, oh, look at her legs. Ooh, those are some, like, long legs. And then it's just, like, the same different role reversal where the girls are like, man, ooh, look at his legs. Ooh. And I was like...
Okay, I got a real random
that's your
aside to ask.
Patrick, first,
can I interrupt? Is it okay?
No.
Yeah.
Okay, Patrick.
Yeah.
This is a guy for guy question.
Okay.
I can only think of one time where I specifically was like, oh, those are some legs on that anime girl. Can you think of a time where you were like that? Ever?
In second side question. Are you talking about anime or in real life?
Anime. Real life is different. There's a lot of beautiful legs out there.
Legs? Obvious answer. Triple X Holic.
Oh, good choice. I didn't think of that at all.
Anything from Clamp, but particularly Triple X Holic. Any of those girls, the main character girl, even Yuko. Anything from Tsubasa Chronicle. I mean, Clamp in general.
Right, Clamp. I specifically thought of Kagome from Inuyasha.
Oh my god.
When I was probably 13, 14, I'm like, those are some legs on this guy. Because she wears a skirt, and it's just like, those legs go for days. Which is not like her main feature as a character, but it's something that as a 13-year-old, I was like, oh.
Because you never really think of them as drawing legs to draw an eye. But, with legs in particular, those draw the eye. Like, that is the focus. They are very pretty. And that's kind of like the first time I've noticed in an anime so much. But Bayonetta, those are great legs.
It's true. Mm-hmm.
Bayonetta.
Yeah. They made her, they built her. She was built that way.
Hair magic.
She's built different.
I still need to finish. I still need to actually play the game. Like, actually play it. I played demo, bought it, never played it.
It's so fun. It gets challenging and it's fun.
Yeah.
Let's go back to your point, Patrick, about about how it's the girl perspective of guys.
Yeah.
I think they showed very well that when girls notice like good-looking parts of guys, it's instantly to compare themselves to. Because she looked down and she was like, "Look at these stumps."
You're right.
Look at that's how. That's good. When I've been around girls and people notice like pretty parts of boys in particular, or even other girls, is like in comparison to like how they don't have something like that. So it's never really like, "Ooh, check that out."
I've actually had that happen.
It's more like, ugh.
I've actually had that happen once.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Because I was talking about my waist size, and then girls were like, "Why you got a thinner waist than me?" I'm like, "I don't know. I'm sorry."
Yep.
That's not true
it's
anymore.
All drenched in. It's drenched in envy and jealousy, and it's kind of like
self shame and guilt.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah,
you are right. Because when in that part where she does look at him, I think I do remember like a short jump cut of the top down view of her body, like in her legs or something. It was like, oh wow, yeah, that's true. Thank you for educating me on such female perspective.
Yeah. And this has been Girl Talk.
Okay.
Oh yeah.
Okay, so slightly related question. If you had to choose between, and this is just purely based on nothing other than because they exist and the world exists the way it does, but a model from Japan or Korea, male.
A male model from Japan or Korea?
Or Korea. Yeah, pick one.
Japan.
No, there's no context.
Really?
Right?
Japan.
I want you to Japan. No context.
Why?
Japan.
Why?
In my head, I'm imagining he's got long hair in like one of those cool kind of ponytails with some of the side hair.
I got you. Visual K.
That's what I was just about to say.
That's
Visual
it.
K.
That's about it. That's about it.
Because
I know it.
Because it's been what? It's been a good solid 10 plus years since K-pop really like established itself in America, and I feel like the Korean pretty boy is the Asian male standard, right?
Mm-hmm.
And maybe that's not true, but that's my outsider perspective. It's like, oh, if I wanted to look like a slim, pretty boy, I'm gonna look like that, right? Like there's definitely like the ideals that we as men might perceive outside come into our heads of what girls like or what we think they like. Like there was definitely a period in time where as a child I was like, oh yeah, if I have big muscles, that means I'm more attractive. And then I went to high school and girls were like, ew, that dude with muscles needs to put his fucking shirt on. And I'm like, I'm not that guy. So moving on. And so I've definitely heard, and obviously, things change, people change, everybody has their own preferences. I used to know someone who's like super into forearms, not mine. Like everybody has their preferences. So I was just curious as to that whole thing because it is an aesthetic. Like, then there's like, obviously like, there's your average dude, and then there's a quote unquote metrosexual, and then there's like the really well dressed gay guy that people are like, ooh, if he wasn't gay. And by people I mean women, but anyway.
or other male people. I'm just kidding.
Yeah, well, at that point, then him being gay is fine.
You know what? As the Asian male representative, I believe I'm using that term correctly. I can see why you're. I mean, you're totally right. The K-pop and the Korean culture of it has been 10 years. It's wild because I know back in high school, that was the thing. Is K-pop,
Mm-hmm.
and
K-pop was huge.
Big Bang and all. It started with
Super Junior.
Like these things are still alive, and like they're still like not what I would say relevant, but like that whole movement is now kind of like that is.
Well, like BTS is mainstream.
The seeds back, yeah.
Didn't they perform at like the Oscars or something? There was something. Yep, big.
They won the awards. Won. They're valid. Like the validated is there. They are a thing now. Now it's kind of like they're riding that wave, and it's kind of maybe because I don't pay attention to it now. It's kind of like moved into the background as of now for me. But because I probably don't hear too much talk about it.
But then,
or maybe I just not around. Yeah.
I think about like Psy, and he was just like the random like counter idea to what had at that point been several years of a building, wave of Korean pop music. And it's just like it's Psy. It's like I wear glasses. I'm kind of chubby. I'm kind of in these videos an asshole at best. Like,
he was
love those songs.
Fresh.
Yeah.
I think it's just kind of the popping out. The pineapple, pineapple thing is like it wasn't about the guy, but it's just about like the gimmick, right? And with Psy being with his music, I wouldn't call it gimmick, but it is just that poppy music, and I don't know. It's just a trend. It felt like but hey, you know what reason why that video was good? It's the women.
You know what though? Gentleman is a great song.
I never really got into it as much as Gangnam Style.
I like both of them.
I mean, like, I will literally
he makes good.
Just like do that randomly just to annoy people. Just
mother, father, gentleman.
I'm a oh my god! Just dancing around, just being ridiculous. It was entertaining. Like I don't know if he's done anything in the last 5 years, but he was
doing a lot before and after.
Yeah.
Like Gangnam Style became one of the most viewed or something.
Yeah, no, that thing went through the stratosphere, and he just kind of followed that up, and he maintained that for a while, and then he just kind of dropped off. But yeah, like Gangnam Style and Gentleman, I'm like, these are good songs. These are enjoyable songs. And they're really fun to watch videos. Like, those are some really good videos. If the videos weren't that good, I don't know if he would have been nearly as popular.
Mm-hmm.
And I think it's because the video was describing what the song was, so even non-Korean speakers could understand that, like, when they're talking about Gangnam Style, it's very relatable. Like the trash blowing for the scene in the tunnel or something. Like, people get that, where it's like, you want to be the rich and famous, but nah, you in the dumps, pretty much. But you make do with what you got.
Yeah. You've got the horses, and the dance is straddling a horse. I mean, come on. Like, it's hilarious. It's
so good.
He's galloping. It's like...
It's so good. It's great.
I'm going to watch it again today.
I don't know. Look, hey, watch it, then watch Gentleman right after, and tell me if Gentleman is even... If it's not as good as you thought. Because I think it's better than you thought. Anyway.
Well, this has been our episode, I think. Unless we have a special thing to talk about.
I mean, we could talk about that, but I was gonna ask one further thing, since we kind of ventured into talking about Korea versus Japan, and not specifically the historical problems with Korea versus Japan.
Yeah, let's not. We're not talking about anything.
But with the relationship that those two countries have, right? There's a lot of animators that do most of the main, like the key art is done in Japan, but the rest of it is done in Korea. But we are getting more and more and more and more manhwa that is just fantastic. We've got 2 anime that came out, Tower of God and God of High School, that came out they came out last year, I believe, in 2020. The manhwa on Webtoon, not to confuse terms and everything, but they had a manga. It's called manhwa. It's on the internet. You can watch it. You can read it. And I read God of High School back in college when I was taught in YouTube. Because that was when I got that from Pashi at the time. So she introduced me to Tower of God. Never read God of High School, never heard of it. Both of the anime came out last year. I think Tower of God was fine as an anime from Korea, basically. And then God of High School died because it told us it was going to be a fighting show, and it became like Shaman King. And I was like, wait, I wasn't here for Shaman King. I was here for, like legitimate fights. But all right, cool, whatever. It really crashed it. It just didn't do a good job.
So sad.
Now, the one that I think most people who know anything are excited about, especially if you like RPGs, if you like anime, if you like, power fantasies, One Punch Man being similar but not the same, is Solo Leveling. Which, if you are listening to this and it is still, 2021, it's June as we record this. You'll probably hear this in August. Anyway, Solo Leveling has a manhwa. It's in book form now. You can go to bookstore, Barnes & Noble, Amazon, whatever. You can get it, and it's in full color. It's gorgeous. It's based on basically a web novel. So the actual writer wrote a book, then someone else drew it, and it's still actively being released with an English translation after the fact on the internet today. And it is really good. Like, Zane introduced it to me. I've been reading it. It's fantastic. So my broad introduction is to say, have you watched anything else that was from a different country that was anime or anime-like? So there's King's Avatar, which is Chinese, and then I just mentioned those 2 that were, I believe they were made in Korea. I could be wrong. I cannot even be confident that the opening music for God of High School wasn't a Korean singer, because my Japanese is non-existent. My Korean is worse. So
you can't be saying Korean and Japanese sound alike to you.
They don't.
Yeah,
they don't. But
if you listen to,
but when I hear them sing, like hearing people sing removes a lot of the nuance, because okay, let's take I wasn't calling them the Powerpuff Girls because that's not what they're called. British group. Spice Girls, thank you.
Spice Girls?
The Spice Girls.
Oh, yeah.
When the Spice Girls sing, they don't sound British.
You're right.
No one who sings sounds like they have the exact accent that they're from. Like, you may hear it.
Yeah.
Like, I hear Japanese people sing in English, but if you speak English and then you sing, as far as I'm concerned, if an Australian is going to sing, it's probably going to sound like my English, because you lose a lot of that accent. So I don't know what Korean sounds like nearly as much. I thought it was Japanese, but I was trying to be careful before I said it, because I don't remember if the webtoon anime are actually made in Korea, like fully, and then they got a Korean singer. I haven't looked it up. Now I'm gonna look it up. I'm gonna mute myself. You talk.
I see. Mostly, I said that because when I listen to languages from other, like, particularly Korean movies versus like Japanese movies, I could hear the difference. So I'm used to like being able to pick out if a song is gonna have Korean words or Japanese words. I never really thought of it as accents. So you're right. You're right.
Yeah. I mean, it does make sense, especially with like whenever they drop in English words and songs. You're like, oh, you're kind of like, it's just kind of there, and there's like it translates whenever you hear English words dropped into a foreign music or like Japanese or Korean song. Like, they do it all the time. It's just the thing nowadays. It's the hip thing to do, is to include English in your songs. But yeah, you're like, oh yeah, it just pops in and you recognize that right away. But going off of that, the animation thing, it's like you're right about that. Like I don't really know. Whenever you talk about animation or anime, I'm like, I always just think of it as something from Japan. But you're right. Like I don't even if I were to watch something that was made from a different country, I probably wouldn't know about it. I would assume it's either made in Korea or Japan, and not like from France or like from I don't know where else. Like, like they have like of course but the only time I would watch that is if they're like foreign films, right? Like I would not openly look for like, oh, I want to watch some French animation or maybe some sort of other country anime from another country. But so it's a difficult question for me to answer because it's like, if anything, it's on YouTube. I'm watching like a foreign animated film on YouTube, and I know that this isn't probably made in Korea or maybe this isn't made in Japan.
It tells you, yeah.
Yeah, exactly. It would tell me like that would be up front. That's the description and all those things. But like, otherwise, you're right about that. It's hard to tell. Like, I just assume most things are either from those two countries. Even like Family Guy or Simpsons, like all of those shows, right? Like,
Korea.
A lot of American anime shows
South Korea.
are from in Korea. Yeah, exactly.
So actually, there is a anime out now. I can't remember which one, and it is a French Japanese anime collaboration.
Are you talking about Wakfu?
Maybe
that's good. I mean, I know that one. I know that one too.
Yeah. But there's also the one I mentioned this. I think I mentioned this on the podcast before. If anybody wants to watch something a little bit weird, but not like insanely weird, Bass Squash is a French anime. It's a French anime, and it's just like, all right, that's what you went with that. We should talk about Bass Squash someday.
We should watch it. A first episode.
Yo, this looks. I just did a quick image search. I'm like, whoa, this looks amazing. I see Vicky in here for some reason.
Oh, that's right. All right.
The character.
I have thoughts to say about that too. But
I'm looking it up
real quick. So, God of High School is a Japanese anime. It wasn't made in Korea. The singer is a guy named Tyler, and another guy who's Japanese. So, as far as I can tell, the only thing Korean about the show is the writer and the words on some of the anime, because it really is like a Japanese studio making an anime about something happening in South Korea, written by a South Korean person, and it's like, especially because of their relationship politically, that's kind of interesting. Because you'd almost think that you would find a way to make that work to make it more Korean, because obviously the anime itself.
Sure.
Now that I think about it more, it was all in Japanese anyway. So it would have been kind of cool if it was Korean all the way through, or at least like most of the way through.
No, I know what you mean, because I've definitely seen. Let me just think about this a minute. When you say the word anime, or if it's like animated series, I know that it is mainly done like in Korea or in Japan, whatever. Like there's that, I guess. But like whenever it comes to anime movies or films, those are the ones that get produced by in-house studios or whatnot, right? Like that's like their own. This is a fully Korean made film. That's no help from any other country. When I see it a lot more often with independent films, which is where you get that. Oh, this is a French independent film. No one else was helping it, and this is like their anime story. But when it comes to anime, the particular word, especially if it's gonna be serialized, there's probably that standard, right? That like everyone goes through these particular studios that are that just go through it. And I assume it's the same way with Family Guy or any of those American Dad, all those spin-off shows, the Cleveland shows. I'm assuming that they all go through the same studio because that's what's been the standard. And that's just probably, I don't know. That's just this is way out of my comfort for the industry talk. But there we go.
I know there's a couple different American animating studios. Like Critical Role is being produced by Titmouse, who also did, I want to say, Venture Brothers. But some other cool things they did as well. Also, their name is just fun to say. Titmouse. But it's interesting how when most people think of anime, they just think of solely from Japan or any Asian country really. But when it's American cartoons, it's like it's cartoons or it's
Well, I think it's because back in the from the 60s, 70s and forward, anime wasn't mainstream. It was niche. It was different. It was more of a mine. It was collection. And so, post Pokemon and Dragon Ball becoming like what they are now, it became more of an art style than a product from Japan. And while I would have definitely, and I kind of still do, but I kind of don't think it matters, lean towards the cartoons from Japan are anime, cartoons from America are cartoons, cartoons from somewhere else or whatever the heck. Nobody cares because no one goes out of their way to watch those.
Yeah.
Right.
But since we treat it like a genre, it's become a genre, right? And it doesn't make any real sense, but if it looks like this, it's anime now, right? Avatar, Teen Titans. Those are like your those are your two examples of American made. They emulate the look, but it's not the same. You can tell it's not the same. It doesn't feel the same. It doesn't sound the same. When they speak in English, it doesn't sound awkward because Databayo and Rasengan in English sound real weird when you say it. Databayo, Rasengan,
Databayo,
Kakashi. Believe it. It's just different. It just feels different. Don't call people Chan in English. It sounds weird. I make jokes, but it sounds weird.
What do you mean, Cori-chan?
Because I call you P-chan all the time, and I still think it sounds weird. I still think it sounds weird.
P-chan all day.
I still think it sounds weird. Like, if I say it, I'm like, that doesn't sound right.
It's because it's so out of our everyday vernacular.
Yeah. It really is just that. But I do think it doesn't matter. I don't think at the end of the day it really matters.
Would you guys consider Pokemon anime?
Yeah.
Pokemon anime? Yeah.
It is,
it's anime,
but I never...
Again, I say it's anime because it comes from Japan. Yeah.
Yeah. Like, it legit is, but I've never really thought of it as this is actual anime. It's in my head, it's still like, this is cartoons, because it's on with all the other cartoons.
This is Toonami, right? No, it's not Toonami. No, I think of like Dragon Ball Z as anime, but I also associate Dragon Ball Z as like, oh, this is Toonami.
Okay.
Yep, Dragon Ball Z is
Toonami.
So here's something to just mess with your head a little bit. If you didn't know, because I was born in the 80s, so I'm a big Ninja Turtles kid, right? Ninja Turtles has the most complicated, like, general history, because it's everywhere. Like, it's animated in Japan. It's written by these guys over here. It's everywhere. And I don't even remember all the origins, but I want to say that Ninja Turtles is a comic book written in America, but then it kind of got animated in Japan and then brought it. It's complicated because it's obviously also like a really, really loose reference to Japanese culture with the ninjas and Shredder.
Right, you're right.
But it's like, it's not Japanese at all. Like, it's so American.
That's true.
But there's a lot of weird, like, Japanese connections that are, like, not important to know or at all. But there's a lot going on with Ninja Turtles.
You're totally right, yeah.
Is it Japan or is it China?
Or what? Ninja Turtles?
Ninja Turtles.
You bring up a good point. Because you're totally right.
They do martial arts.
Yeah, the martial arts and like the sensei aspect of it, like Shredder. I mean, Master Splinter,
right?
So when you call him Master Splinter, I'm like, that could be from China too, probably. I mean, you're right about like that influence, but going back on the word anime and using it as like a term as far as genre, my first thought was that in Japan, do they call American cartoons anime or they call them like American anime? Like
I'm always
if you're in Japan and you watch a Disney movie, that's like us watching American people watching a Ghibli movie, right? It's kind of the same. They watch Mulan in Japan. They're like, oh, this is an American anime. But we watch Studio Ghibli. We're like, oh, this is Japanese anime, right? It's kind of the same.
I'm always of the assumption that they
that is interesting.
Called everything anime.
Yes,
probably.
Right. That's what I assume too. Like animation. That's just the term, but
basically the older generations, right, when they're like, what are you doing watching those cartoons? It's like, it's not cartoons, it's anime. It's all cartoons.
Yes, the age-old question. That is true. Yes.
Well, fascinating discussion.
Yeah, I think that it doesn't really matter, but it does. It matters in the sense that who makes money off of it and why, right? It matters in the sense of cultural representation. But right now, right, all cartoons, well, let me back that down a little bit. Cartoons in general started with Disney. Then those were copied by a Japanese guy.
Astro Boy.
And that's where anime came from, right? And then now art has imitated the art that it originally imitated itself originally, where Teen Titans copies anime to have big, eyes and stuff. So
and then panting stocking.
And then panting stocking copies Powerpuff Girls and says, let's have some angels have sex and talk about sex.
Exactly.
Yes.
Wild.
So it's really interesting. I really do hope that Korea can kind of create their own industry. Now, I don't know if that's going to happen. I don't know if like the Japanese studios have any actual control over that, because that would encroach on their money making ventures. But I would love to see some of these manhwa that are very good. Specifically and only really solo leveling, but there's other stuff out there. I know it's good. I don't care though. I want solo leveling on TV yesterday.
Everyone wants solo leveling. I haven't seen it, but I only hear good things about it.
It's real good. Like when I was first introduced to One Punch Man, I was like, oh my god, this is really good. Same level of just interest and like, oh my goodness, this is real good. Except the only difference is One Punch Man isn't done. And solo leveling is done as a book. So if you want to read the whole story, you can. It's good. It'll take a while. Internet.
Good reading, Rick. Well, that has been our amazing talk of first Pretty Boy Detective Club, which I think we are all going to watch at least one more episode of.
Yeah.
Just to finish off that half feel of it. And fascinating discussion about anime versus cartoons and where we're watching it from.
And why Vicky likes to stare at boys' legs and judge herself.
Hey, that's Patrick.
That was me. That was me.
Yeah.
I'll take that hit on that. His legs, though. Come on.
Why are my legs that thin and beautiful?
You can't deny him. His legs.
Those were some really good legs. But
I want to wear shorts like that someday.
They would still be pants on anyone else if Cori wore.
Yeah, exactly.
They would be underwear on me, but that's all right. We got it.
Yeah. I want to thank my great co-host for once again putting up with my ridiculous choices, Patrick.
Hey guys, and remember, there's nothing wrong with legs. If you're a leg person, you're totally fine.
And Cori.
Always enjoy your pretty boys, whether they're defending their high school with love or they're detecting things because they're pretty, also known as NAMBLA.
Oh boy.
Oh, I was going to say that was really nice, but then you have to...
We're going to cut that out. I'm going to cut that out. Cori, I'm sorry.
Editor,
please cut that. We are no controversy on this podcast.
Bullshit.
No controversy.
Bullshit. Yeah, plenty of controversy to go around.
No controversy. Remember, guys, rule number 1, no controversy. Rule number 2, ignore rule number 1.
Pretty much. Well, and right. From me, your host of the day, I'm V. Thank you all, and we'll catch you next time.
Peace out.
Bye.
Bye.
Bye.